Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tea Time with Danica. And today's live is coming from Balaton Fored in Hungary, which is at Lake Balaton. And I know the lighting is terrible. I'm staying in this little apartment kind of thing. And it is Europe. And so lighting is weird. And you just learn to live with it. And I could not figure out a way to rearrange the lighting and everything to make it look good because it is a very tiny little efficiency apartment. And the plugs are in weird places and the lights are in weird places. And so, like, it's fine. You all just want to see tea time with Danica anyway. And so today's tea, look at this. It is lavender themed mug, which is lovely. And this tea, this actually is what I got this in Budapest. I'm really excited about this. I haven't ever seen these tea packages before, but instead of a box, it's still tea bags, but it's in this little thing. And so it's different fruits. And I like when I'm traveling to have a decaf tea, and this is what I like to have. You know, I like to have something in the evening, a nice decaf tea for going to bed. So I was really happy to find this when I was in Budapest at the grocery store. A lot of times I just go, when I get to a new town, I usually just go to the grocery store. First thing, particularly in Budapest, I go to the grocery store, I get a few snacks, I get some tea, I get some other things that I need. And it's great. And then, you know, whatever I don't drink on the trip, I have a souvenir. And so that's some of the teas that you have seen on previous Tea Time with Danica. So today's live, I kind of hinted at this previously in one of my other posts, and that is things going wrong. So I have been looking forward to going to Balaton literally for years. And so when I decided to do it this time, going to Budapest, I was super, super excited because I just pushed a weird button on my computer. So there we are. Okay, perfect. Anyway, when I decided that I was going to make this happen this summer, I was super excited. I had this whole big trip and expectations built up in my head. And let me tell you, it has not lived up to its expectations. This has literally been one of the worst travel weekends I've ever had. So this is the story. This is the embarrassing part of the story. I'm just going to tell it. I was like, I don't know if I should tell people this or not or what, but I really do like keeping it real. And I want people to know what real life is like, because I think a lot of times we see the Instagram perfect pictures of someone's trip and think, oh, look at how perfect, look at how wonderful. And I'm telling you, the shit that happened on this trip was insane in the weirdest ways. So first of all, I get on the trip, I get on the train, I'd pre-booked a ticket, pre-booked my seat. I was very happy. 2 seats away from me, there was a couple traveling with their cat in their little cat carrier. I have seen more people and their pet cat that they take with them everywhere like dogs on this trip than I've ever seen. It's bizarre, but good for them and good for the cats. It's weird that they have cats with personalities that allow them to do that, but this cat was fine. However, I'm allergic to cats. And they were close enough to me that I could smell the cat. So my allergies were kind of acting up. I took some allergy medicine on the train and was better. And let me rewind before I got on the train. Before I got on the train, I was packing. So I was there previous for a work trip. They always give us like a little gift or things like that as like a memento from the company picnic. This year it was a beach towel. I was looking to see if it's handy. It's not, but it's a really nice beach towel and I'm really grateful for it. Also, they had given me some company shirts that I could wear at conferences and things. all of this was stuff in my luggage I wasn't planning on. And so for this trip, I had brought like a foldable zipper bag that I could use to take home souvenirs and put other, and so I would have extra space because I was traveling carry on only. Well, I had to use that zipper bag first thing, which I was not expecting, but it's fine because that's why I brought it. So I had more luggage than I was planned. So I was crammed into this tiny train seat with my luggage. So my suitcase was overhead. Then I had my backpack and this bag and my purse all with me in my seat. And so it was kind of cramped. The other people sitting with me were a little irritated by that. But the one chick, she also had a shit ton of luggage. So I do feel like she was more irritated with me because she was expecting more room for her equally large amount of luggage. But this is why I also intentionally packed very light for this trip, because I knew I was taking trains. Space was a premium. So picture me. I'm on the train. I have all this luggage. Cat people are right across from me. I'm doing my best to stay in control of the allergy situation. I was doing some journaling. I got really emotional when I was journaling. So I was kind of crying. And, like at this point with all of the RIM training and everything that I'm doing, and particularly on emotional healing, if I need to cry, I'm just going to cry. So there I was journaling, crying on the train. It's fine. People were looking at me like I'm a psycho, but like, who cares, right? Maybe I am a psycho. So I get off the train at my stop. As I am coming down, disembarking from the train. Do you disembark from a train? Probably. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting off the train, coming down the steps, and the steps of the train are not normal step height, number one. Number two, I am clumsy on steps anyway. And number three, I have all this luggage with me. So, needless to say, I fell down the stairs getting off the train. Thankfully, I did have my luggage with me, because if I hadn't have had my luggage, I would have face planted onto concrete. Instead, I face planted onto my luggage. And all of that face planting, falling down the train, I had to go to the bathroom really bad. So I was actually kind of rushing to get off the train because I had to pee. Well, let me tell you something. The impact of face planting onto my luggage when I had to pee, I wet my pants. Yeah, so there's the embarrassing thing. I wasn't sure I was going to share, but like, this is the real stuff that happens to people when they travel. I had a bunch of concerned people come. They helped me up. They were very nice. Thankfully, no one could tell I wet my pants. At least I don't think so. Even if they could, I mean, who cares? I'm never going to see those people again. It's fine. Went to the restroom, cleaned myself up, started to go to my Airbnb that I'm staying at, and it was a 15-minute walk. I knew that. That's why I chose the place. And, of course, the whole time I'm walking 15 minutes with, hi, I've wet my pants. That sensation for 15 minutes uphill. And I get there. No one is at the door. So I kind of walk around the building, and the door's locked. So I walk around the building, find a lady who works here. I was interrupting her coffee break. She was very annoyed that I was interrupting her coffee break. And this lovely Hungarian woman does not speak very good English, which I am in the Hungarian countryside. I expect this, which it's a little weird because in Budapest, everyone speaks English. If they say they don't, they're usually doing it to be a jerk, is what I have found out from my coworkers. But no, this lady legit doesn't know English. I found here in the countryside, a lot of people don't know English, and the ones that do surprise you, which I'll get to. So I check in. The lady is like going through all the paperwork and everything with me. Fine, no big deal. She starts telling me the different rules of this place. I'm like, okay, cool. She takes me up, she gives me a tour, she shows me how all the different things work. Great. Um, and she leaves. And I am very eager at this point because I purposely booked this place for one reason. It had a washing machine in the unit, and started looking. There is no washing machine in this unit. Literally the reason I booked this place, and there's nothing. And as I have just told you, I just wet my freaking pants, which, I've been a week in Budapest at a hotel. I essentially figured that since I was coming here and had a washing machine, I didn't try washing stuff in the sink or anything like that because why would I bother since I knew I was going to wash it this weekend? Yeah, no laundry machine. I like every inch of myself is wounded at this point. So, I basically, they have a very nice bathtub here. I basically emptied all of my dirty clothes into the bathtub, turned on the bath, made myself a bath. I got in the bathtub with all my dirty clothes, and I just sat there and I cried and I scrubbed my clothes while I was crying in the bath. It was really quite the picture. And then I wrung out my clothes and I hung up everything to dry, so it is normal not to have dryers here. Most people don't have a dryer. Only really, really rich people would have a clothes dryer. And so they did have a thing that I could hang up my clothes. And so all my clothes are hanging up. It's probably a good thing that the lighting here is bad because what you would see is it looks like a bomb went off of clothing because every thing that I could possibly hang clothes from, I have clothes hanging to dry. I would say about half of my clothes are dry. I leave in the morning, and I have a few clothes that will probably still be damp. And that's why I'm a little, again, like, can I do laundry in the tub? Absolutely. I know how to do it that way. I prefer not to. It's why I booked this place. But I had to because of circumstances, obviously. And the thing about hand washing is you just can't wring it out tight enough, and so things just take longer to dry. So that's why, like I said, I was a little upset about it, but it was fine. And I had one clean pair of underwear, so that was also a bonus. So, I mean, I did have clean underwear to put on after my bath. I had one clean dress to put on, so I had some clean things that I could change into, but it was like my last clean everything. So I was really hoping and praying that something would be dry by morning. Fortunately, I did have something dry to wear today. Fantastic. But like, this is the kind of stuff you just don't expect, and you just make it happen and you prepare for it. And so after all that happened yesterday, like I said, I got into some clean clothing, and like after I did all my laundry, hung everything up. By the time all of this happened, I was expecting like to throw the stuff in the washer and leave and then have all afternoon to do something. Well, I didn't get out into town until like 6:00 at night because the hand washing, it takes a while. Also, having a pity party and feeling sorry for myself took a while too. And that's okay. If you need to do that, do that. There's your permission, because I think sometimes we need that. And so I walked down. For whatever reason, Google Maps was not cooperating. Also, and this will be very important later, the buses, I couldn't figure out the bus thing. And this hotel is a block away from the bus stop. And so I was like, I'll just walk into town anyway. It'll give me a chance to stretch my legs. I'll feel better. But then I got confused because Google Maps kept pointing me in weird directions. And so I was just sitting there so frustrated. And this dude comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, miss, you look, he says something to me in Hungarian, right?" And he's like, and I just looked at him. I said, I don't even remember what I said, but I just said, "Oh," I said, I said, "I'm sorry, I only speak English," which I've been doing Hungarian Duolingo, but at the time I just couldn't even come up with words to say, "I'm sorry, I don't speak Hungarian." And he was like, "Oh, no, that's okay. How can I help you?" And I just said, "I'm sorry. I'm tired and I'm hungry." Because all this happened, right? I was expecting to get to my hotel, drop my bags, throw my laundry in the washer, and then go have lunch. Well, since that didn't happen, I didn't get lunch. I did have a package of cookies in my backpack. No shame, that's what I had for lunch. They were delicious. But at this point, my blood sugar is like down. And I'm like, I just need something good to eat. And he's like, "Oh, well, would you like a recommendation?" And I said, "Sure." And he recommended this restaurant, which is where, and he told me how to get there. It's where I ended up. The food was very, very good. So I was super happy. But I get to the restaurant, right? There's the hostess looking girl who works there. And she's speaking at me in Hungarian. And I was like, "I'm sorry, I don't understand." And I was like, "Do you speak English?" And she just looked at me. She's like, "No." And so she went and got her coworker, who was this elderly woman, brings the elderly woman over. And the elderly woman's like, "How can I help you?" And you could tell she was Hungarian. So usually when you're in the countryside, like that would have been the opposite. Like the younger kid would have spoken the English and the elderly woman would have been like, "What are you talking about, crazy lady?" So I thought that was super interesting. But I did have a really nice meal. And then I went for a walk along the water. Um, and again, this is where, your plans fall through because it was so late in the evening, except for restaurants, everything was closed. And so I didn't get to do anything other than really walk along the water, enjoy the water. I say enjoy the water. I didn't go in. It was too cold. It's too cold out to actually go in the water. But at one point I was sitting on this bench just watching the water and enjoying the evening, and this elderly couple comes up and the woman, gestures to ask if they can share my bench, and I said yes. And so the husband sits down and starts looking out over the water, and the wife disappears. She comes back in a bathing suit. She goes into the lake and she just starts swimming like this marathon swimmer. And it was really beautiful to watch her. I didn't take pictures because I think that might have been weird. Like I've done enough weird things for the day. So it was just so cool watching this older woman just swim and just really enjoy herself. And also her husband and the delight on his face as he watched his wife swim. It was really beautiful. And I keep hoping that I will have a love like that because it was so beautiful. And then when she came back from her swim, they spoke Hungarian, so I have no idea what they actually said, but I imagine it was very loving and sweet because he said something to her and she said something to him, and they were just smiling and the water's good kind of thing. And so it was just nice. And that was my evening. I also I had messaged a friend earlier that I was just having this terrible day. And so he and I did a video call and I was able to show him around and we talked, and really, really sweet. He was just like, "Yeah, I'm here for you." And so I finished my walk. It was a really nice evening. I got to just see a lot of cool things. They had some kind of music and book festival happening. Everything was in Hungarian, so I understood none of it, but it was just really neat to see the people enjoying Like they had jazz music going, and someone was doing a reading from his book, and they had some kind of wine tasting going on. And it was just really cool to see that and to experience it, even if I didn't understand the language. And so when I was done for the evening, I saw that there was a taxi stand with a bunch of taxis. And I walked up to the taxi stand, and I asked if I could get a taxi, and they said yes. And so I ended up taking a taxi all the way back to my hotel, which was great because it's about a 30-minute walk from my hotel down to the water, which I kind of knew when I planned it. And this is where, like, traveling, you have to think about plans. Is I had planned it. I knew that I was 30 minutes from the water, which was not ideal. I typically have a max of 20 minutes by walking from the main center area is kind of my rule. In this case, I went a little bit further because nothing close that had laundry facilities was not outrageously expensive. Like, this was reasonably priced. It had laundry facilities. There weren't a lot of places with laundry facilities also. So that was a big one. And this place was a block from the bus stop. So I just thought, okay, I'll take the bus. Very reasonable assumption. Not so much. So the next morning, I wake up, I get all settled. I'm excited. I had plans to go to Tehani today to the lavender fields and see lavender things and go to the Abbey. And so I get up and I'm like, that taxi sure was convenient. I'm going to take a taxi to the waterfront, and then I will get on the ferry and I'll go over to the Tehani Peninsula. It'll be great. This will be perfect. Pull up the apps for the different ride shares. Nope. Like, I did multiple apps, multiple attempts, could not get a taxi. Okay, fine. I know where the bus stop is. Buses run every 20 minutes. I'm going to go to the bus stop. I get to the bus stop. There are elderly Hungarian people there dressed like they're getting ready to go to church because it's Sunday. And they look angry, very angry. And they are gesturing at the bus stop sign, looking at their phone and gesturing back up the sign. And I know the bus is late. And so I pull up the app, and sure enough, it says the bus is coming in 19. The bus is delayed. The next bus will arrive in 19 minutes, which is problematic because, like, it's already 15 minutes past when the bus should have been there. So I'm like, ooh, no wonder these people are mad. They're late for church. I'm not going to wait around because at this point, I'm like, okay, 19 minutes. I'm almost all the way down to the waterfront. I'll just walk. Walk down to the waterfront. I get there. I go to this restaurant that I'd seen the night before that advertised Eggs Benedict. Oh my gosh. It was the best Eggs Benedict I've had in my entire life. Not even kidding. I'm going to do a post just about how amazing this Eggs Benedict was. That's how good it was. So breakfast, amazing experience. I walk down to where the boats are, go to the ferry place. I'm like, hey, can I get a ticket to Tehani? The lady looks at me and says, we have nothing available until 3 p.m. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Like, it doesn't seem to be that crowded, and the boats are pretty big. I'm not sure. There's no tickets until 3 p.m., but okay. So I'm like, okay, fine. Walk all the way to the bus stop because you can either take the ferry or you can take the bus. Walk to the bus stop. Get to the bus stop. Look at the app for the next bus. Bus is delayed. The next one will be here in 19 minutes. Didn't I just see this thing? Yes, I did. But it's fine. I will just be patient and wait because, that is part of being in another country. And again, there are angry Hungarians at the bus stop. So I know that it isn't just me misinterpreting or misreading the bus information. Like, the buses legit have some kind of problem. So I'm like, hey, let me try the taxi app again. I'd like to tell you that once again, nobody answered my call for a taxi. Okay, fine. Which was okay because it would have been a $50 taxi ride and I didn't want to spend a $50 taxi ride anyway, but I would have because I was determined. And then a bus with a different number than what I needed shows up. And this is where I took a risk. What I knew about the buses in this area is they have a fairly predictable route. So this bus would get me to a place that would get me to a place I needed to go, even if it wasn't getting me to the place I needed to go, if that makes sense. Like I knew it would get me part of the way. So that would feel like progress. So I went ahead and got on this bus, did not have a bus ticket. The guy let me pay at the door. So you can pay at the door if you don't have a bus ticket. However, here, the bus driver gets a little grumpy with you if that happens, but you can still do it. I did it. He was grumpy. It was fine. Thankfully, this bus was going to the main bus terminal. Yay, because that means I could find out the very next bus to Tihani, take it straight from the main terminal. Everything was going to be great. So I decided, instead of annoying the bus driver by needing to buy a ticket at the bus, I was going to go to the ticket window and buy a ticket at the ticket window. No. The woman looked at me. She said, no. Slammed her window down and walked off. And I'm like, oh my God, what is with, like, why? So I was like, okay, but wait, I have the app. I'm going to buy a ticket on the app, which maybe I should have done that to begin with. Bought the ticket on the app. Oh, I know why I didn't do it to begin with, because there were a couple things on the app that were confusing. But I went ahead, I bought a ticket on the app, and I thought, you know what? Worst case scenario, it's going to be the wrong ticket, but the bus driver will just make me buy the right ticket from him. Okay. The bus shows up on schedule. I kind of wait to the back of the line because if I'm going to annoy the bus driver, I don't want angry people behind me waiting for me to finish annoying the bus driver. And so I watch as angry bus driver sells people their tickets because they didn't buy a ticket ahead of time. I'm like, okay, I got this. I show him my ticket on the app. He lets me on through. So yes, it worked. I didn't have to annoy the bus driver. Get off at Tihani. It's very lovely. I have a wonderful time. And it is great. And then it occurred to me that the lavender fields, which I had passed on the bus ride, were quite a ways away. And my whole goal, I wanted to go to the lavender fields. And so I just decided to walk to the lavender fields, which it was a couple miles. So it was a little bit of a hike, but it was fine. I did it. And I had a lovely time. And I walked back. And while I was there having lunch, I found out that there is an app for the ferry. So what do? I look on the app. Sure enough, there were plenty of ferry tickets. I have no idea why this lady told me there were none till 3, but she did. It's fine. Because if I had taken the ferry to Tihani, it drops you off at the bottom of the hill. The Abbey's at the top of the hill, and that is a really, really long hike. So I actually saved myself a super long hike by being told no, by having to figure out this other way. And so I got to walk down the hill. I bought my ferry ticket on the app. I showed them my ferry ticket on the app, and boom, I got on the ferry and I came home on the ferry. So it was absolutely perfect. And then I got back to Danica Favorite, had some nice dinner. I saw the taxi stand that I had used the night before. There were taxis all there, but no drivers. And so I'm like, okay, fine. I will get one on an app. Nope. No one would take my ride. Like, okay, fine. I go to the bus. Okay, do we know the bus pattern by now? I get to the bus. It says the bus is delayed. The next bus will be here in 19 minutes. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Okay, fine. I was tired. And so what did I do? I walked home. And I got home and it was fine. I walked over 24,000 steps today. Almost 25,000. Actually, I'm going to call it 25,000 because by the time I'm done with my day, it will have been 25. But all that to say, like, all of these transport things went so sideways. It was not even funny. Like, literally tonight when I'm sitting there and I'm like so excited to take this taxi home, and all the taxis, there are no drivers. Actually, I think they were across the street at the bar watching the World Cup matches, because I recognized the one dude. And I was not going to bother someone enjoying his World Cup. Also, because I wasn't sure, maybe it wasn't the same guy. But, it just occurred to me that, like, that is real travel. That is real life. So I know this is a super long story, and some of you are like, Danica gets the point. Like, I think there were a lot of points in there. But, like, I had this trip so meticulously planned, and I deliberately chose to stay in places that were going to make my life easier. And here I am at the worst possible place for me to stay, other than, thank you, Europe, they did have their teapot. And they have a very nice bathtub. But other than that, this is probably a very less than ideal place for me to stay. And it isn't that it's a bad place. I mean, I'm not going to leave them a bad review or anything. It's just, I booked it specifically for the washing machine that it didn't have. That part is really frustrating. And I'm very frustrated that it was so far from the city center. I had thought it would be okay because of the buses. And yet, for whatever reason this weekend, the buses were not running according to schedule. And again, at first I was like, okay, I obviously made a mistake here. But the number of angry Hungarians at the bus stop who looked like they were normal people who live here who rely on the buses, like, just based on what I could observe from the demographic. And I've had to ride a lot of buses as I've traveled. There was clearly a problem. I don't know what it was, but that failed. And so it is a good reminder to me for future travels, and for all of you, if you're going to be future traveling, stay as close as you possibly can to where you're going to be. My usual rule is 20 minutes. I did this one, the extra 10 minutes. It didn't kill me, obviously, but I won't do that again. I will pay extra even if I don't necessarily want to. But that was a huge lesson for me. And, also that transport lesson of thinking that, okay, I can easily get a taxi. No, you can't. Not always. And so all these little things that you're planning on, make sure that your plan is that you've got some backups. My backup happened to be my legs. And I know that not everyone is as physically fit, and like 25,000 steps, not everyone can do. I probably can't do it either, but it's me and my sheer determination and my sheer willpower that I am going to do this. And I'm proud of myself for that. I was talking to somebody else about this, about how, they're just like, you're just so brave. And, You're just willing to do these things. And, every place I went this weekend, I was the only person who was alone. And on one hand, it was like, yes, I'm so empowered. And on the other hand, I'll be honest, it was a little bit hard because I didn't have someone to share these moments with and to be able to do the fun activities with, or even to like commiserate with as I'm doing this 30-minute walk that I didn't really want to do, that I had plans and my plan fell through, my contingency plan fell through, and ultimately it was just up to me to walk. And life is like that sometimes. And I still managed to have fun. I still had a really good time. If I come back here, I will not stay at the same hotel. I kind of have in mind, if I were to come back, what would be looking for and where I would be staying. And it's just completely different. And so, and that's something I will be doing for a couple of the places that I'm staying later on in my trip. There's one, the place in Ljubljana. I'm taking a day trip from there, and there's like 3 pickup options, except they're all really far from my hotel. And so my plan was I was going to get an Uber or a taxi or something to take me from the hotel to the pickup spot, because it is a little far to be walking at 8:00 in the morning. And now the first thing I do when I get there, and maybe even as I have time now, I'm going to research, okay, is it going to be possible for me to get a taxi there at that time of day? And how would I go about that? And how do I guarantee that there's going to be one so that I don't miss my bus, essentially? So just weird little things like that. And always learning and planning your contingencies. Like I said, this piece of the trip, it wasn't urgent that I had to be somewhere at a specific time, but I know Ljubljana in particular, this tour that I booked, I do have to be at a certain place at a certain time. And so how do I make that happen? And I've been trying to play most of my trip pretty loose and not have specific, I must do this kind of thing. And so, so that's my trip so far, my vacation part of the trip so far. It has not gone according to plan, and that's okay. I learned a lot. I got a lot out of the experience, and I still did have a really wonderful time. And this is a good, I won't say it's a good memory, but it's a good lesson in terms of, yes, I fell down the train stairs, peed my pants, and still had a good time. And it's also just a reminder that always make sure you have backup underwear. And with that, I hope you have a really great rest of your day. I'm going to go and get ready for bed, and off to the next adventure tomorrow.